Hello, everybody.
Hi.
Hello. Okay, so we're about five past. Um, would anyone like to host today?
What does hosting entail? How can I help?
That would just entail going over the agenda if we have any, probably screen sharing with the
Okay.
agenda
The agenda I
and
looked at
announcements if we
was
have any.
from last time. I don't see. I would have to sign in, but I can certainly share while other
Yeah, sure.
people, I can do that part. Oh, can I share? Share, yes.
I also shared the link in the chat so folks can add their name to the
Okay.
attendee list.
Okay, and you can all get the willies from my large number of tabs.
That's nothing.
That's nothing. You got me
No. Now
beat.
you need to have like five windows with the same amount of tabs.
There we go. So I haven't signed in, obviously, so I can't type anything, which is a convenient excuse. But on the other hand, I can share and I can host. Um, we don't have anything pre-populated on the discussion items or announcements. I don't think. At December 10th, we announced version 0.12. Have we bumped versions since then?
We have not. I think we're planning on doing one at the end of January, just with the time off.
Yeah, exactly. Might be useful to describe, kind of outline at a high level what we think will be in 0.13, because that would be just useful to catch up, get started in the new year. What do you think?
So I think one update that we have
Okay.
is that we did release Hyperlight Wasm. I think that's news from meeting the O12 version for Hyperlight Wasm.
Okay. That's cool. Um, also, one of the things that the community might be interested in is that it is still possible to submit um, things, a CFP for Wasm.io if you're in the EU on the Microsoft side, or if you're in the EU or travelable anywhere. That's in Barcelona in March, so that's possible. There's also for the EU people, there's also techno whatever. I can't remember where it was. I'm gonna have to I dropped the link somewhere. So it's Techno Belgium, Techno Belgium, which is in May, and that CFP is open for a while. So if people are doing cool things, they want to submit, they can still do that. Technically, Wasm.io is closed, but the truth is you can email Sergey, and I would be happy to facilitate it if anybody is interested. He says he'll close it down this week for sure. Get the schedule out. What else we got? On the 12th, Hyperlight Cloud Bridge demo I see right here. And the 26th. Did we mention Dan, I don't think so. We haven't mentioned the rejects presentation that you did.
Oh
And
yeah, I think we
that
mentioned it when we released it or when the presentation went out, but I don't think we posted a link to
we
the
didn't
YouTube video.
post a link, and I think that would be useful.
I find it.
And for those who are interested, Dan is preparing a blog post on that very same topic, which we hope to get out in the next couple of weeks. And let's see what else. The thing that I absolutely should do, since a bunch of us know each other, Shailish, do you have any questions, any announcements, anything you want to talk about?
No questions. I just
Just dialing in.
yeah, I picked an issue related to some open telemetry things. I just
Great.
wanted someone to explain a little bit some API I have to change. I have gone through the code. Didn't understand everything. So just if I think Ludwig raised a PR related to that a few weeks ago. You can just explain which API you're talking about. I'll
Sure. Do you want to drop the issue in so that
yeah,
Ludwig can look at it?
yes.
And let's see, those are some announcements have been populated there. And while Ludwig's looking at that, and then we do have a discussion item, which is ring buffer Hyperlight improvement proposal. There we go, 1076. Ludwig, have a look at that. Go ahead, James.
For the Hyperlight improvement, I just wanted to bring it to attention here. I don't think we've mentioned it, but it was opened. I think we talked about it briefly, but it's now opened on the repository and is ready for comments, reviews, approvals. I went over it and looked pretty good. I think maybe just needed a couple more eyes on it.
Fantastic. So Dan's doing that. Go and pop that up just to show everybody the proposal. Right here, there's a bunch of good stuff that's been put in there. But more eyes, more comments are always welcome. So Ludwig, let us know if you want to chat about. Oh, Jorge has a hand up.
Yes. Also, I think this is a work stream from Tomasz, and if I understand correctly, he's working on a second HIP, which is HIP 2 for introducing traits for serialization, so that we can start. Well, in part, it's required for the ring buffer implementation, but it's also will allow us to start experimenting better with different serialization strategies, which is something that we're also starting to look into.
Okay.
I think he shared a
Go ahead, James.
link. Yeah, I think Tomasz shared a link for the serialization thing. So let me see if I can pull that up.
Yeah, I think that. Let me see. I think it's this one. Yeah, you just need to be logged into HackMD to be able to see it.
Which I am not.
Exactly.
On the fly doing a 2FA is just so much of a pain. Should have done it before. All right, so we've got serialization changes. Thank you for the link. And the ring buffer hip. So grabbing that as a unit makes sense. And the discussion items. Thanks for that. Following up, Ludwig. We've got the announcements and the cloud rejects talk that Dan and Pedro did is there, which is great. What else we got? Jorge.
Yeah, there's another work stream that I'm focusing on, but it's also dependent on the ring buffer implementation, which is adding asynchronous support to Hyperlight, so that a client could start executing things asynchronously and run things asynchronously. So, for instance, the guest could start a network request and wait for it, and the host can handle that asynchronously as well.
Cool.
The initial plan was to implement it in Hyperlight directly, but then there's a lot of overlap with what ring buffer is bringing to the table. So that would imply rewriting half of the implementation again once the ring buffer is available. So the plan is to wait for ring buffer, and then we can work on the asynchronous work.
Seems reasonable. What else we got? Or do we just, or it looks like this is actually a pretty good summary of various odds and ends that we haven't put together before in one place, which is good. Simon.
Yeah, yesterday I created a new, at the moment, private repo that demonstrates an approach for running Hyperlight in Kubernetes without having to use privileged containers. I guess I can make it public and people can take a look at it and comment. I'm sort of conscious that I'm not, by any stretch of the imagination, a Kubernetes person. So I don't really know whether this is the right way of doing things. It basically uses a device plugin and CDI and a daemon set to inject either a KVM or a Hyper-V device into a container. But it seems a reasonable way of locking down a container that's running Hyperlight, enabling Hyperlight to run with low privileges. So I guess the best thing to do is just make it public and let folks take a look at it. I know James has looked at it.
I'm all in on that.
I know David's looked at it. Yeah.
And I like the device approach. It makes sense, at least at first blush. Jorge.
Yeah, I think this has some shared interest with something I wrote a while ago, which was a container shim for Hyperlight. It's a different approach to running things in Hyperlight in Kubernetes. What Simon is proposing is that the container can start Hyperlight guests, while the approach I took with a shim is that the container is the guest. So the container contains the guest binary, and the shim is in charge of running that. That means that the host is less configurable. I just realized that when I did that, the repo is internal, so it means that if you're not part of the org, Hyperlight Dev org, you cannot access it. But there's a link here. Probably we should make that public as well. It's a different approach, and I was discussing yesterday with James potential ways in which we could make the host more configurable so that you can have something running in the host that exposes some host functions, and then from the guest you can call those host functions, and everything configured through Kubernetes. In particular, I was thinking more like running like some JavaScript things on the host, because that would simplify some of the like including code that runs in the host and things like that. It becomes easier, but there's no reason why we couldn't do it natively. So that's something that I think would be interesting to explore as well. It's a completely different approach to having Hyperlight in Kubernetes. I think there's potential use cases for both of them.
David?
We hadn't really talked much about the use case of like what Simon's or what some of these different use cases could enable. So one of the things that we've seen is more and more agent code wants to be executed. You want to execute it quickly, like agent generated code. Maybe it's actually for tool calling. So we want to execute this code quickly within an isolated boundary because we don't actually trust that code. And one of the nice characteristics of what Simon is building is basically you can deploy a container, and it's the same container you would run. It's just an app that uses Hyperlight as a library. And so what you could do with that app is, you could go and say that app is actually an agent and some code gets generated, and if you want to execute it close to the agent, you could spin up a Hyperlight sandbox to execute that code. This becomes really useful because OpenAI has like the code interpreter that you can use that will execute code in an isolated way. Other services do too. This is just like one of those other use cases where, occasionally you just want to execute some, arbitrary code within a secure sandbox. And this gives you a very fast way to do it and build a native container, like a regular Kubernetes container, and deploy it out to your cluster. So I think that's pretty neat. I think there's also, as Jorge's moving into, some interesting ideas for like the whole thing is within a isolated sandbox, and I think that's a slightly different, like that would probably be a different use case than the I want to run small chunks of code isolated. James, do you have your hand up?
Yeah, I guess I could jump in and share the demo of the code interpreter thing, kind of in the same line. I'll paste it into the chat there, but it's essentially using Microsoft's agent framework to provide like a local code executor, and then that code executor fires off a Hyperlight container to run Python and JavaScript code in it. And so it would play nicely into kind of the scenario that David just outlined there. So you can take a look at that if you're interested.
I'd love to see it. If you got it handy.
Oh, I was
See,
running it last night, but
and then you shipped your
let me
machine,
run.
and now you
I
just
might be
walked
able
right
to.
into that one.
Let's see. All right, yeah, it looks like it's working.
All right,
We can
let
try
me
it here.
stop sharing.
Just close up, make sure my environment variables aren't variable. And so I actually started to package this up as a Docker container last night so that I could try it out with Simon's work. But I haven't quite completed that work yet. Okay, is this the right one? Okay,
I can see something.
yeah. Yeah, so what I just did there is ran the agent in kind of a like a command line tool. So I said, hey, go run this the agent framework is built in Python. So I said, go run this local code interpreter. The local code interpreter, I kind of hard coded some prompts. So it said, calculate the first sum. So it said, it's going to calculate the sum. Here's the code that it used to calculate it. So it wrote a bunch of code in Python here, and then invoked the tool behind the scenes, which was, in this case, it was just a local Python environment. And if I do just run Hyperlight, that will tell it to run inside Hyperlight. And so it's generated some code and now it's executing that in the Hyperlight container. It's for some reason a little slow on my local machine, but I've run it in other environments and it was super fast. So I haven't quite debugged that one yet. But in a second here, should return. Maybe not. This problem with ad hoc demos, but the other one I could do is run dev UI. And you probably can't see the browser, huh?
Nope. But I know you have one.
Let's see. There it is. Now, can you see it?
Not yet on my side.
Stop sharing.
The magic of the socials. I see a browser instance now.
Okay, yeah, so I can say calculate the sum, give me random numbers and show the JavaScript code. Can you see it executing?
Yep. Or it seems to be.
Okay. Yep.
It's pretending.
So yeah, it's thinking about it. So it's generating the code, and then in a second here, we should see it invoke the tool, which would be the JavaScript running.
And so in this case, to clarify, the tool is executing JavaScript in a
is the local
in a
code
guest
interpreter. Yeah, so there it wrote this random code here, and then it identified that it had a tool available that could execute that JavaScript for it. And so it called out to the tool. The output was the random numbers that came back, and then it gave us the answer to those random things. And so that code, this code here was generated and run inside Hyperlight in this case, and then returned back.
And just to be clear, that so when running inside there is the JavaScript code, I assume that's passed in as a string or byte array or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
Okay.
Yep. So this is a really kind of silly demo, but Anthropic wrote a blog post back in November about how they were able to reduce the context window for tool usage by
Mm-hmm.
generating script that would call out to the tools and then only return the answer from the tools. And so you can see that if you told the agent that it had access to tools and that it could call a script to run those tools, then it could generate a script, call out to all those tools, and then the tools, and then only return the answer that it was looking for back to the agent, and the agent didn't get the entire context of all of those tools in it, and so you could reduce that. But that script is still untrusted, and so because it was generated by the AI, and so this isolates that script to a Hyperlight instance. And this dev UI that I'm showing here is just like kind of the agent frameworks dev UI, like out of the box. And so it just they provide all that so you can see all the events that are firing off. You get traces, which I guess I didn't turn that on for the dev UI, and then any tools that get executed here. And so you can see that, so I can verify that it's actually calling the tool that as I expected.
And so this is okay. So also, I'm looking at a web UI. I'm assuming that this could be backed with, if you get this working in a container, using Simon's trick. Trick is not the word. It's using Simon's deep and profound intelligence and hard work, bundled up in a trick. So this is the experience that you could actually have on the back end. In other words, the web is really just the sort of the view projected, making the call to back to wherever localhost is in this case.
Exactly.
Cool. So, cool.
Yep. So I've got it packaged into a container. I'm working on the authentication back to. So it's right now it's using a model that I'm running in Azure OpenAI, and so I just need to spire up all the authentication so that I can use that model from an AKS cluster, or any Kubernetes cluster. So that's what I'm working on right now.
Phantasmo. That is a great ad hoc demo.
I would love to see how it works, like targeting different code interpreters too. Like, how long does it take? Is execution significantly faster? With the Hyperlight side, or what do you expect when you see it bounce off to, say, OAI or some other remote code interpreter? Um, could be really fun. Also, if anybody's looked at the costs of those remote code interpreters, they can get pricey. So that's another big benefit here.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's nice that the agent framework provides the ability to plug in different backend models, including the model itself, but also OpenAI, Anthropic, Azure OpenAI. You can even do local models. And so once we get this up and running, we should be able to kind of do some sort of performance testing to get some sort of sense of what that looks like.
And for local work, I think this is, just a great solution as well. Even though you're not, for local work, you're totally interested in absolute confidence that the code doesn't go off and do something just because there's some, for whatever reason, injected poison, or the code goes awry in some way, and you just don't have to worry about it.
Yeah,
and honestly, I'd be more worried about local execution than I would remote, to be honest. Like,
but remote,
if I'm
but
on
in
my
this case,
dev machine,
there are different features, like they're different benefits, right? Like the local one gives you confidence. That's the one that's the thing that is great. You don't have to worry about it. And then if you're hosting it in a service, then you're getting, at scale reduction of token usage and things like that, in addition to confidence. Wait, maybe I'm being condescending to the local users who are going to essentially run every process that the CPU can possibly process. They're going to max out their machine. What am I thinking? Yes, that'll happen too. Then if we get async usage, then they'll just fire off any number of instances at once and swamp the machine.
Yeah. So one thing I should mention is that that's all written in Python, like the SDK from Azure, the Azure Functions thing. And so Dan wrote the Python wrapper around Hyperlight Nanvix so that it was very easy to call Hyperlight from the thing. And I think that's been merged into the Hyperlight Nanvix repo too. So if you want to take a look at how that was done there.
Coolio. Anybody else got ad hoc demos?
Your container, James, is going to be very different than what I put in that repo, because the sample app that I put in that repo is literally a Scratch container with a static binary in it, and that's it. It's like 2 meg, because it just does like hello world or something. I suppose it's interesting because you can sort of go from that to a more broad set of capabilities.
Actually, and that's a good demonstration of the flexibility. Is you can start with a hello world and look at it, and then move up the complexity chain to an AI environment that actually makes sense. That's giving you security and confidence, and reducing your token usage at scale. Good stuff. Anybody else got something else? I'm not looking at the thing. Is there some other thing that we needed to do? I don't see anything. Shall we wrap up and give everybody else the remaining, 4 minutes of time? Sounds good. Shailesh, great to have you here.
Yeah, thanks.
Thanks so much for your time. Everybody, have a great day.
Thanks, y'all. See you in a bit.